So for today's video, I just thought I'd shoot something that I've been thinking about quite a bit, especially with 2019 being a new year and me having new and fresh goals for what I was wanting to achieve for YouTube this year. So I really thought a good topic would be why I do YouTube. And this is very important, especially if you're doing YouTube for the wrong reasons. It's going to be very easy to become discouraged and not focus on growing your channel. And I think initially a lot of us look at other YouTubers, more successful YouTubers, and we somehow envision ourselves being at that very place when we're going to start YouTube. But the sad reality is that we don't all start there. So I wanted to list 3 stuff today, and I wanted to really keep this video as short as possible as to why I do YouTube, and maybe you can relate to something similar in terms of what I relate to. But before I say the 3 things of why I do YouTube now, let me share a couple of things of why I started YouTube in the past. So I don't know how common this is, but I basically think I started YouTube initially because I wanted to make more money, and I didn't necessarily have an idea of what YouTube entailed or how easy it was to make money. I was watching all of these other content creators and seeing their subscribers at 100,000 or more subscribers, and you know, for me it was encouraging, but only up until I started YouTube did I actually realize how difficult it actually is to even get just to 10 subscribers. And so it's really important, like I said earlier, just to have the right motives for wanting to get started on YouTube. So my first thing is I wanted to make more money. I didn't necessarily at that point know what it entailed, what you needed to do in order to make money on YouTube. I spent a lot of time doing research, and even when I started, I think with my first video on another channel, which I'll just link in the top here below, you can go watch that video, it's still on the channel. I thought I had a fairly clear idea, but in the back of my mind it was all driven by the fact that I wanted to make more money. And it's not necessarily because I don't make enough money now, although I do think a lot of us don't make enough money now, but it's because I wanted to add a different stream of revenue. But I was also wanting to fit YouTube into my time, and my time at that point consisted of my job, which is quite demanding, my day job, the job that actually brings money and puts food on my table every month. The other thing is that, you know, I have a family with 2 kids, so that keeps me quite busy as well. So having to juggle those 2 things, and now throwing in YouTube as well, and then I've got church as well. Throwing that in is, you know, just different dynamics, and you sort of place priority on the things that is going to generate income. So trying to make it work in the beginning, it was to a point discouraging. I wouldn't say it put me off totally with my first video, with my first few videos, but there was the aspect of just prioritizing what was more important, and YouTube fell very low on that scale, and I really just needed to adjust my thinking. Even though I started this channel quite late last year, I needed to adjust my thinking in terms of why do I create content, and why do I actually watch other YouTubers? Why am I so obsessed with the things of YouTube and with other creators? And I had to break it down to a couple of things, but eventually it got to the 3 things, which I'm going to get into right now. So the first thing really is my love for media. I've been involved in media probably for over 10 years. I've never done it as a full-time job, and I think that's why I continually love it so much, is because I've always done it because I was more passionate about it when I was doing it, because I loved it. I was involved from everything to sound, live sound mixing, backroom sound mixing, visuals, lighting, all those types of stuff I was involved in previously, and I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. I really excelled, and I can even remember from a very young age, it was something that I was just drawn to as a little boy, drawn to electronics, drawn to media, drawn to the different stuff. Over time, I started to develop more of a love and a passion towards it, and particularly around branding as well. Like I love looking at different brands and looking at their logos, and I'm just thinking, how did they come to the concept of creating a logo for certain things? So it's something I've always loved. Graphic design as well. I'm not the best graphic designer, but I love people who can graphic design well. Like when I see somebody designing something, like it just gives me more inspiration to improve my level of graphic design. So the first thing is really my love for media, and that's why I create content, because I'm wanting to grow in this arena. I'm wanting to learn more, I'm wanting to experience more. And that's quite important. If you love something enough, you will go out of your way to make sure that you get to know more about that particular thing. You can even relate it to a relationship with somebody. When you love that person, you go out of your way to get to know them. You go out of your way to do certain things just to see them, or just to see them happy. And I think with me being involved in media for such a long time, it gave me the opportunity to get to know what the industry is more about, and even see how broad the industry is. Like, we've got so many different facets in this industry in terms of media, in terms of actual content creation, actual filming, the people who are behind the camera, the lighting side of it, the audio part of it, the web design part of it, you know, all of those facets. It's so broad, and for me, I particularly like all of those. Even the photography aspect is something I'm trying to get into now as well. So that love is what's driving me to learn more about it. And I think without that, it would be very difficult for me to learn more and excel and become better in what I'm doing if I didn't have that love for it. So that's my number one reason. The second reason is this, that I eventually want to do this full time. I eventually want to create content full time for a living. I know it's quite important to distinguish between your actual work and doing what you love, and I think there's a very fine line between your hobbies and things that you love doing and your work. And I've heard some other content creators say this, is that as soon as they sort of went full-time into the content creation thing, in particular Chris and Becky's channel. Becky is a photographer, graphic designer. Chris has also been in that, but his day job is something else. And something that they said in one of their videos was, and I'll link it up in the YouTube card, is that Chris in particular, he does content creation because he loves it as doing it as a hobby. And even when Becky started out doing photography, when she started doing it for a job, like she moved from the space of loving photography as initially just doing it as a hobby. When doing it for work, it just became a job, and it just became a day-to-day thing. Like when she got home after the shoot, like she didn't feel like doing anything photography related, because it was just taking a lot out of her. So I think for me personally, this my second point in doing this full time. Like, I think the flexibility of me wanting to do it on my own time and making a living off of it, and wanting to support my family is in line with what I'm passionate about doing as well. And that's going to help me excel and do more and have more time for certain things that I'm wanting to do. I watched a video by Jay Shetty the other day where he's a very good storyteller, and he speaks about, you know, we spend most of our time working in a job to pay for a house that we barely spend a lot of our time in because we're so busy at work. And that was something that was just an eye-opener for me, and made me think about what I'm wanting to do and how I'm wanting to spend most of my time. Point number 3, and I think this is probably one of the most important points as well, is just loving the process. And I think for me in the beginning as well, like I can probably spend 2 to 3 days editing a 10-minute video. And that's sort of what also pushed me to get better, but also what pulled me away from actually loading stuff. And I'm a little bit of a perfectionist at heart, so a lot of the time I tend to hold back stuff that I do create and not post it out there because I don't feel I have the perfect shot, or I don't feel I've done a graphic well enough. But ultimately, with watching YouTube and watching other content creators and understanding that I need to start somewhere and start improving, but you can't improve if you don't start and you don't look back at your own stuff and see, okay, I could have done this better, I could have done that better. So the real important thing is just enjoying the process. And in the beginning, the process can become quite frustrating, especially if you're trying to land an effect, or if you're not understanding how to do something that in your mind you know exactly what you're wanting to do, but actually to make that come out in the video. So the process can then become a little bit frustrating, but it's important to note that when you are doing this, it's important to enjoy the process. If you can't land an effect, you know, ask somebody in the YouTube space. And I think the South Africa YouTube community is going to grow quite dramatically this year. We've got guys like Sheldon Zam, guys like Shane Robinson, who are really putting a lot of time and effort into the YouTube creator space in South Africa this year. And those are the guys that we need to be connecting with, and we need to be going to those collabs and feeding with other creators in order to make sure that we can improve our content. And there's a lot of things that we can learn from these guys to up our game, to step up our content creation. And we shouldn't just think that when we have a community online, that the community is just about us and the guys who are watching us, our viewership. But the community is also about other creators and how we collaborate with them, because the more we collaborate, the more exposure we're getting for our channels, the more somebody who subscribed to another channel will start to see, if they like your videos, they will come over to your channel. And the same, if somebody else sees another YouTuber on your channel, they will go over to that person's channel if they enjoy what they saw from that video. So it's really important for us to love the process and not become frustrated when we're stuck on a certain point, but to ask for help. And it's going to be an opportunity for a lot of us creators to start growing. So we really need to engage, but we need to take that step and engage in the communities on Facebook, on Instagram, on WhatsApp. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please hit the subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell to be notified of any new videos that do come up. And I would love to see you back on my channel. And maybe just a question, if you can let me know in the comments down below, why do you create content? Why do you upload videos to YouTube? Let's have a chat about it. My social links are down below, so if you want to connect with me on Instagram or Twitter, my links are in the description below. Up until the next video, I'll see you guys soon. Peace out until the next one.